My brothers and sisters, Merry Christmas. It's a reminder that Christmas is not a day, not a weekend, but a whole season of rejoicing. And yet, as we listen to the readings today and in days past, as we celebrate our Lord's birth, it's followed by a sequence of great feasts, the Feast of the Martyrs, yesterday the Feast of St. John the Evangelist, which reminds us that our Christian faith is not a collection of false promises, of nice, warm images that warm the heart but don't speak to the reality of life. Our Christian faith is grounded in truth, the truth of God's revelation, the truth of who we are, and the truth of interplay, as we heard in today's first reading from St. John, the letter of St. John, of the conflict between light and darkness. God, as he gives us the gift of life, reminds us that all life is sacred, from conception through natural death. It is one of the greatest gifts that God gives us as his sons and daughters, and it is one of those gifts that we are called to cultivate, to defend and protect, and also to uphold at various stages when we hear of people struggling through the various stages of life, to be the voice of the voiceless. In fact, as we celebrate today the Feast of the Holy Innocents, it is the voiceless who were giving witness to the glory of God. Because it is the voiceless, the sinless, who were slaughtered by Herod. Because he could not understand that interplay between light and darkness. Herod believed that who he was had to do with his position in life, with what he had attained, with what he had accumulated, with how many people surrounded him, with how well they spoke of him. That the more he had, the greater he was. But of course, all those material possessions and all those positions of prestige and acclamation, they pass with time. The more we accumulate, sooner or later someone comes who has even more. And if our self-worth and our identity is grounded on that, it will not last. And when we think that our power and our worth comes from titles and positions, either we'll fall into great depression as we move or are moved from those positions, or like Herod, will react in anger and violence because he had forgotten one great truth, and it is the truth of the Christmas season, that we are not the center of our universe, that our human lives make most sense when they are lived in communion with God, in communion with each other. This is the truth that Herod forgot, because he had made of himself the center of his universe, a very short-lived, a very chaotic universe. And so when the center of the universe took on flesh, the only response was anger, if it was grounded on human understanding. But if it is grounded on faith, as we have the example of Joseph and many others, the response is conversion. Joseph is the answer to Herod, because where Herod clung to power and understanding, his own understanding, and prestige, and lost it all, Joseph understood he didn't have all the answers. So his response was to listen, to hear the voice of God, and to allow that voice to lead him to action. In this case, to flee from danger and to bring his family into safety until that danger had passed. As we celebrate this Christmas season, we should also ask for that gift, to live our lives not by the measure of human understanding, but by the measure of God's love for us. This God who always calls us to rejoice, to discover the good gifts he has given us, and to know that even though life may contain times of great suffering and difficulty, that darkness shall pass, because the truth of the Christmas season is that the light of God has shone upon this world, and the darkness has not overcome it. Merry Christmas.